is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 55. I am your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay.
And we are together for the first time in 2.5 weeks.
Oh my God.
I know.
It's been a long time.
Well, you might not notice since I did get some content out while we were both
the show
on
never
vacation.
left.
I know.
But I left.
Well, I mean, we record
And
our
I'm back.
We record our movie cocktails almost a month in advance before they actually
Right.
come out. And then we had episode 54 with me and John, and then me and you actually did get together, but we were together briefly. Like we went, we literally went and saw the Dark Tower, came back
The
here.
shameful Dark Tower.
We did a 30-minute review of it, and then you bounced because I was literally leaving for vacation like the next day, and you had just gotten back from vacation. So I was getting ready to drive 11 hours, and you were beat from being on vacation.
Yeah, that was funny.
So it's the first time we really get together for a little while.
It really has. Yeah, it's been a roller coaster couple weeks. I mean, it's hard to talk about. I mean, I was on vacation in Delaware, Rehoboth Beach and Dewey Beach area, and it was a lot of fun, perfect weather. Had a lot of good times with the family and just, drinking a lot and swimming a lot, floating around a lot, kayaking, just paddleboarding, random stuff like that. Really good food here and there.
Only you go to the beach and do something as white as kayaking.
Exactly.
What's wrong with just going in the water?
Well, we did, but we stay right along the bay, and the bay where we stay at literally has like a kayaking rental place like stationed right there. So we kind of, my sister and I were like, come on, let's go and do it, as a whole family, and we all got kayaks. And,
all right.
Yeah. My parents were on one,
You didn't
two-person one.
You didn't tip it?
Well, tried, but my dad was like splashing me with water the whole time, and I had my sister's phone with me because I was the photographer trying to take photos of everybody.
Your dad seems like a bully.
Yes, he is.
I can see you just like trying to ram your mom and be like, leave me and my movies alone. I don't need to get right with God.
It was so funny, though.
This is for you blasting me on Facebook, Mom.
Man, I can't talk about sex, movies. No, and then after that, as soon as I got back and you went away, I got fucking sick as a dog. I haven't been sick with a fever in years, and I had like this fever for 3-4 days solid.
You should have just sweated it out here. You had a key to my house.
Oh my God,
Could have sequestered
it
yourself.
was bad. The one day I couldn't come over, I was like, I just can't leave the house.
That's all right. I had just had to change all the
dead.
filters in the turtle tank because you overfed the turtle. There was like so much food like caked in the filters. I was like,
I'm not surprised actually, because I know you said less is more, and I was like, I'm the more. Like with dogs and stuff, I'm always like, here, have a little bit more. Have a little bit more. I like a little chunky dog. Come on.
I got home and I came in and the one filter's dead because it clogged so bad.
Jesus Christ.
The other two filters.
I didn't think it was that bad. I mean,
there's like bloated like little like freeze dried shrimps all stuck in them, and I was like, oh, I can see Jay overfed this thing. His legs don't even fit inside his shell anymore without oozing out like oozes of fat.
I like my animals well fed.
The fish seems fine. Because nothing can kill a beta. Like nothing can kill a beta.
Nothing. Okay.
And of course, you didn't have to take care of the dogs, though. Lucky you, because the dogs were with me on my vacation. So.
Right, but they were great.
Yeah,
I heard they were fantastic on the whole road trip, and your girl was too, I think, right?
Yeah, she was fun. Yeah, we just put movies on for her, and a little bit of Benadryl goes a long way for her.
That's a long trip. I've done it a few times with my family, and I did not like it at all going to Myrtle Beach. Oh.
It's different when you do the driving.
Well, I know. Looking back now, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I could if I'm the one that's doing at least a good chunk of the driving. But, when you're in the back seat and you're a little kid and you got your sister right next to you, that's a long fucking
That's
trip.
a long trip. Yeah.
That's a long trip.
I imagine that you and your sister are a lot like Logan when Luca moves. Well, Luca's touching me.
Oh, God. Yeah. There's
Sit down,
a lot,
Luca.
lots of shenanigans of either hate, love, playfulness, complete disdain for one another. Like,
Disdain.
yeah, you just go through the Rolodex of emotions with the siblings,
We left at like around 1:30 in the morning and drove down. I drove until about 5:30 or so. Lauren took over for about 2 hours while I slept, and then I picked it back up and finished it off, and then we got down there. And then on the way back, I drove from midnight until about 5 o'clock in the morning again. Let Lauren take over for, I think, took over about 2 hours again, and I finished it out. So it you don't realize how much it takes out of you, like staying up and just driving and stuff, until like you're done, you get to your destination. You're kind of like wired though, because you've already gone past that point where you were like tired and then you came back up, and then like at some point you just crash. So like when we got home on Sunday, we got home on Saturday, I slept for maybe I took like a 2-hour nap while Logan took a nap and Lauren took a nap, and then I
think I came over right when you woke up from your nap. Yeah,
because I was cranky. And then I went to sleep like normal on Saturday, but like Sunday we were still like dragging ass. Even my first day back at work on Monday, I was just dragging fucking ass. Like I felt like shit. And then even today, as soon as I get back from work, you can only imagine that being away from work for a whole week when your customers are pretty much on hold. They left me a ton of messages, ton of emails. I had to catch up with everybody. I had a ton of work piled up. So I've just been stressed out these past 2 or 3 days. And today it just hit like a wall. I woke up with an absolutely massive migraine. I felt like absolute shit. I started throwing up around 11 o'clock in the morning. And I just had to call my supervisor and be like, look, I'm going to finish my work for today, but I'm going to do it blindingly fast, and I'm going to go to fuck home because I'm dying. So I just felt like shit. And when I came home, I slept from maybe 2 p.m. today until 6 p.m. So my system's still fucked up.
Yeah.
It's almost like God, I hate corporate America so much. I don't want to take a vacation anymore. I just want to work through them. Just keep compiling them, because you wind up having to do so much work before you go on vacation and do so much work when you get back from vacation. Your vacation is rendered null and void. It's like it didn't happen.
Well, especially with your line of work.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where no one's no one has your back.
No.
They're just gonna, we'll keep it there until Dave gets back from his vacation. It's a nice little gift. Welcome back to our lovely company, Dave.
That's exactly how it works. But vacation itself was a lot of fun. I mean, we spent most of the days on the beach. We got 3 really, really good days at the beach, and then after that, it torrentially downpoured for the next 4 days.
I mean, we saw the forecast.
Yeah.
You got lucky with those 3 days, I think.
Friday it cleared up. We were able to go out on the beach for a little bit on Friday morning. But other than that, it pretty much rained. We spent a lot of time going to we went to the Ripley's Aquarium with Logan. She had a blast there. She got to touch a stingray. She got to meet a real life mermaid. So she had a lot of fun doing stuff like that. And of course, we went shopping, and I did get a night where my mom said she would watch my daughter. So she took my daughter, and me and Lauren went out to a nice, extremely expensive dinner. But the food
very expensive
was fucking nuts. Fucking good.
As it should be.
And when me and Lauren go out to dinner, we don't just go out, grab food, and then leave in an hour. We like to go get appetizers, get drinks, sit down, take our time with our dinner. So we went there, I think our appetizers were, I got soup. I got lobster bisque soup that actually had a whole lobster tail inside this lobster bisque soup. So
nice.
It was chunks of lobster. And then we also got a braised pork belly that and it's the waiter brings the food out, and he explains how it was cooked, how it was prepared.
Wow.
It was one of those places where it's everything has been raised within 50 miles of this location.
Huh.
So everything is fresh. And I was like, all right. And you tasted it. Everything was so fucking good. It was just so good. And then me and Lauren got the bill. And I was like, I mean, this is the type of place where you don't buy like a meal and then you get your sides. It's the type of place where everything is a la carte. So
Sure.
So I mean, there was on the menu.
You don't want to look at the bill. Just give them the card. And
That's
like,
what we did.
Just
That's what we did.
Just take the bill.
We didn't angst over it. We're just like, this is the first time we've ever done this. It might be the last time we ever do it, but it's the first time we ever did it. So let's just treat ourselves and get the fuck out of here.
It's worth it every once in a while. Yeah.
And it was there was a $85 like aged Angus beef steak on there. Like it was like $85 for it. And then they had a Kobe beef steak that was even more than. I was like, holy fucking shit, dude. Like there's no way I would pay that much for a steak. I don't even remember what I got for my main course. Once I got the bill, like everything went and their beer selection was terrible. That was the only downside. I think Lagunitas and Dogfish Head.
You should have gotten a nice scotch. You haven't been drinking too much scotch lately.
I drank most of it. I drank some of the scotch you got me while I was.
Oh, you did?
While
Okay.
I was down there. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I also got wine when I was there. I was eating fish, so I'm gonna have some white wine. So
Sure.
it was pretty good. I got a Francis Ford Coppola Director's Edition Jaws Chardonnay.
He makes some good wines. I'll tell you. I've had a few of them. They're pretty good.
Those Coppola wines ain't bad. And then I went fishing one day with my brother and my uncle. We had a lot of fun going out fishing. Didn't catch shit. I mean, like I caught fish, plenty of fish, but they were all black sea bass, which you could keep if I wanted to, but then I have to actually cook them and prepare them. And I don't know if anyone's ever filleted a bass. It kind of sucks. I mean, you're better off. What you're better off doing is gutting them and then cooking them whole, which no one in my family would have eaten it like that. So I threw most of them back. And then I got pretty upset because people were keeping sharks, catching sharks and keeping them, which pissed me off. Because when we were leaving, nobody claimed any of their sharks. They just left them there, and the first mates were all like, "What do you want us to do with these sharks?" And nothing. And I was like, "Okay." And then there was one guy who was like, "I caught one, but I don't know what to do with it." And I was like, "You cook it." And he's like, "I don't know how to." And I was like, "YouTube it." And he's just like, "No, I think I'll leave it there." He's like, "You can have it if you want it." And I was like, "I didn't catch it. I don't need to take it." And he was like, he wasn't like argumentative with me, but I just told him, I was like, if you shot a deer, would you just leave it in the woods or would you follow it and take it? And he's like, oh, I wouldn't leave a deer in the woods. He's like, and I was like, exactly. Why would you take a shark out of the water, kill it, and then fucking leave it sitting in a cooler? And he's like, oh. So he ended up taking 3 of the 7 dead sharks, and the other 4 probably just got dumped right into Little PD River, and that was
probably. Yeah.
It was that was a really cool trip going out though, because I did night fishing, and I haven't done night fishing too many times. It was really cool because as we were going up the Little River, which is a brackish water tributary. It's the international waterway. As we were going out, we saw about a 6 to 7 foot bull shark in the river. So not even out in the ocean, just in the river. That was pretty cool. We saw a bald eagle on our way out there, and then there was dolphins swimming in the river as well. And then once we got out to where we were, and we put the spotlights on when it got dark, and we were fishing on the bottom. Every now and then, like you would see, like
it must have been really cool though with the stars and just had the sounds, how quiet it is. All you hear is the water.
Well, they had to leave the engines running the whole time because obviously the lights to run. They had a galley and stuff like that.
Sure.
So they had to leave the engines running, so it wasn't as quiet as that. But it was pretty cool because there was like every now and then, like you would just hear like shark off the stern bow and stuff like that, and everyone would like run over and look, and there'd be like a pretty big shark just going right in front of the boat, and then it would dive down, and everyone's just kind of hoping that it grabs their bait. I don't know why everyone was so jazzed about catching these tiny 4-foot sharks that were basically just babies.
Just say that you caught a shark.
I guess.
That's probably it.
Caught a shark the size of your forearm. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun going out there doing stuff like that. Had a lot of fun on my vacation. Happy to be back, though. All right, Jay, what have you been up to? What have you been watching, man?
So, since it's been a few weeks, I have watched quite a bit of movies. I'm going to briefly run through the list. On HBO, Tour de Pharmacy, Adam Sandberg's latest film. Pretty fun because it's a spoof about road cycling and drugs and Lance Armstrong makes a cameo that's perfectly done. He's trying to be sly and like under the radar, muffled voice in the dark, and then slowly throughout the film, the darkness goes away, and he's like completely like in full light. You can see who it is, and he has the muffled voice, and he's like, "You sure that nobody can still see me, right?" He's like, "Okay."
All right.
And but no, anyway, but it was a lot of fun. It's a charming little stupid fun movie.
And then you also saw Popstar Never Stop Stopping.
And another one of his, Popstar Never Stop Never Stopping.
Yeah, Never Stop Never Stopping. There you go.
Not bad. I mean, again, like it's one of those movies where I heard it's actually pretty funny, and it really is.
It is. It's funny, and it got good reviews. It just came out at a time, and I don't think Andy Samberg really brings in an audience.
No, that's been
theaters.
proven. That's been proven in theaters. He does not.
Everyone remembers every time he's teamed up with Adam Sandler.
I think he is more of like a Netflix guy. Like I think he should take over the reins of like the Adam Sandlers, where like, hey, he can deliver some funny stuff, but he needs the right kind of people around him, and this one really worked, and especially for our generation because well, actually, it was kind of spoofing like Justin Bieber, essentially.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's spoofing.
But you can also, you get those winks and nods of like the whole like Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, kind of days, that kind of thing. But that was a lot of fun. And then Keeping Up with the Joneses, silly, fun little movie. Zach Galifianakis,
he had
John Hamm, Gal Gadot.
Zach Galifianakis had two that came out
Isla
right around
Fisher.
the same time. He had Masterminds, which was based on a true story. That was a comedy with him, Jason Sudeikis, and I think Kristen Wiig. And then he had Keeping Up with the Joneses. They both kind of came out like the same time, and they both
it's okay. It's fun. It's a fun watch. It's a fun watch.
Both duds in the theaters too. So
yes, yeah.
I looked at my HBO this weekend because I needed something to watch. Some new stuff came onto Netflix, but I was looking on my HBO and I was like, holy shit, this is like the month of duds. Independence Day resurgence. So bad. And then there's like, keeping
there's
up,
nothing.
Keeping
There's
up with
nothing.
the Joneses.
Yeah, there's not much on there.
Masterminds, and that stuff's all on Netflix too. So I was like,
Keeping Up with the Joneses, it's worth a watch. If you just want something easy to watch, it's kind of fun and enjoyable, just throw it on. Unforgiven, revisited that I think just hit its 25th anniversary last week, and great movie. Clint Eastwood, amazing director.
that was his first directing gig too.
And I think he didn't direct for a while after that, and then
he didn't come back with directing until I think the late 90s, early 2000s,
something like that. I can't remember. War Dogs. Finally watched War Dogs again. It's a sloppy movie. It had something there. I enjoyed watching it.
This is Miles Teller and
Jonah Hill.
Yeah, I reviewed that last year for us.
Yeah, you did. And it's okay. It's like an okay movie. I wasn't crazy about it. The emotional parts of the movie did not work for me at all.
No.
It did not hit.
No.
But a lot of the other parts of the movie did. And
there was also
it was just sloppy. I think it just needed a different director.
The guy in real life who Jonah Hill was portraying was suing the production of that film when it was coming out for the misrepresentation of his character, he felt. So there's a lot of like little
I'm not
things.
surprised.
Yeah. And then how about all those true life Miles Teller movies that are coming out right now? Like
he's going to have one hell of a year.
Yeah, he's got that one where he's going out to become a hotspot fighter for forest fires.
Sure.
And then what was the other one we saw? Oh, the
war movie.
Where he's the soldier that comes home, man. That one.
Thank you for serving or something.
Oh my god! I even told you in the theaters when we saw that.
Oh my god! The trailer puts you to tears.
I was like,
my god,
I'm gonna cry my eyes out when I watch
and
this
last
movie.
year, it's kind of unfortunate. Last year, you saw the movie. I still have yet to see it. The boxing movie that he was in. I think flew under the radar. Because around the same time, Hands of Stone came out, and actually that's on Netflix right now. I haven't seen that yet either.
Hands of Stone is okay, actually, but I think the it's not Play It to the Bone. That's the one with Antonio Banderas, and that's Antonio Banderas and Woody Harrelson is Play It to the Bone. Bleed for This. And I actually really, really enjoyed it. I thought Aaron Eckhart did one of his best roles in a long time in that. Miles Teller was Miles Teller, but I like the... I just like that kid, man. I like the way he he really emotes well on the screen. But that was a really good movie, and it also has the guy that plays Mance Rayder as his father.
Yeah.
In the Game of Thrones.
I think of Miles Teller as like a refined Shia LaBeouf, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
As an actor. And I do like him a lot. I think they were really hoping for that movie to be an awards player, and it really just flew under the radar and missed. But that's unfortunate. But I'm looking forward to checking it out. Also, Love Song on Netflix is a little indie darling. I just saw it 2 nights ago, actually, with Riley Coe and Jenna Malone. And it's a really interesting love story of sorts where...
Wait, a movie called Love Songs about a love story?
Kind of. It's like two friends. One's like a little bit of a wild card. Jenna Malone plays a little bit more of like the wild card friend, and Riley Coe has a young daughter, and they get together and do a little trip, and the husband's fucking around, and put it this way, there's signs that they could be lovers. More than good friends and best friends, whatever.
Didn't Thelma and Louise also kind of like...
I think so.
Allude to that too.
Yeah. And this does it in such a subtle way, an effective way. It's a really small independent movie, so like obviously it's going to have like a small little story, and it's almost a 2-part chapter, and it kind of cuts into Jenna Malone's wedding eventually down the line, and it's still cool. It carries on into that, and that was a nice little indie movie for me to watch. And also, finally, Atomic Blonde. I saw it in theaters, and it was cool. It was cool. It was a lot of fun. It was really, really great with the action and the choreography, and the cinematography was cool. But the
choreography.
Director,
after a fucking year, he still says choreography.
Fuck. It's just ingrained with me.
Bibliography. Filmography.
With a question.
No, you always say filmography.
Filmography. Yeah. Yeah. But
choreography.
I know.
Choreography. Say it 3 times to yourself. You're never gonna forget. Choreography. There you go. Choreography. Say it like you're British.
Oh god.
How do you say aluminum? Do you say aluminium?
No, aluminum. But Atomic Blonde, had good performances, and the director just didn't know how to structure a good movie because the story sucked. It was very, it was kind of stupid. It was very dumb, and it was all about the story. Like it was all literally starts off with them interviewing her and recounting the story of her time in Berlin, and there was really not much to really tell. So, but it was a really fun watch for me. I still give it a B- because it had a lot of cool parts of it and cool effects and action scenes, and I would really love to see them do another one of these, but with a different director. I think there's a lot going on with it. Charlize Theron is just fucking badass. I mean, it's just, fuck, love her.
So for me, I saw for the first time, because it's on Netflix now, The Founder with Michael Keaton. And I really, really dug that movie. Like, Michael Keaton, absolutely fantastic in it. Patrick Wilson is wasted in it. He's in it for like 3 or 4 minutes of screen time, but he's there. And I fucking love that movie, man. I just like that idea that like you take what you want, like, and like the way he just embodied that, like, and he came off as like they delve into like him just taking over this corporation, the McDonald's corporation, so slowly. He comes off as like such a nice guy, like in the beginning, and like by the time you get to the end, he's just like, he has this one line that I fucking love when he's like if your competitor is drowning in the water, would you reach out a hand? He's like, I wouldn't. I would put a hose in his mouth and help him drown. Like, he's like, that's who I am. And I'm like, oh my god. I love you. It's so great. But I had a lot of fun watching that movie. That movie was a lot of fun. So it's on Netflix streaming. You have Netflix. Definitely, if you haven't checked out The Founder yet, definitely check that out.
I will have to check that out.
It's a nice small character piece, and it's about something that is so huge in America. And that's one of the things that like they really point to is just like, there's America. It's red, white, blue, stars, stripes, McDonald's. Like,
pretty much,
yeah. All this, like, it really gets into the fact that like McDonald's is synonymous with the symbolism of America. Like, it is, it was just a little drive-in, burger stand that started in California. And eventually it became this massive corporation, not because of the people who invented it or invented the system or invented the burgers or any of that stuff. It became what it was because one guy saw this idea and said, the way to make this work is franchise it. So it's like it becomes.
I'm
this thing,
surprised
like,
they were able to make this movie.
So
I'm surprised McDonald's didn't.
Yeah, it becomes this question of like, is the person who came up with the idea the sole owner of it, or is the person who learned how to mass market it, are they the owner of it? Like, which one's the owner of it? Because if the original owners of McDonald's had it their way, they Burger King have it your way. If they had it their way, they would have stayed a small burger stand who were slightly successful in California. Or is it the guy who looked at this and said, this is something we can take worldwide, had the balls to do it, took the risk and did it all on the sweat of his own back, really, and then created it to what it was? Who is the real owner of it at that point? Because the idea was there from someone else, but this guy took the idea and exploded it.
Is that the question that they
it's
play
not.
with
No, it's
throughout
not
the
a
movie?
question. I mean, they make Michael Keaton pretty much the bad guy in the film.
Okay.
they paint sort of like a big corporation, like negative attitude throughout the film. But I looked at it that way. That's the way I looked at it. Like, doesn't he kind of deserve what he gets, like the fame that he gets and the money that he gets, because he's the one that took every risk in building this business?
I believe so, but unfortunately,
Right.
the law says no.
Unfortunately, he found a way around that law, so he did wind up. I mean, he is the founder and CEO of McDonald's Corporation. So,
Sweet. Okay.
What's more interesting is finding out how he did it. It's a good film. It's a fun watch, and it's extremely interesting for a lot of reasons. And then the other thing that I watched, because I didn't watch a whole lot when I was on vacation. Obviously, I didn't really watch TV at all. Just everything my daughter wanted to watch. So How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2 10 or 15 times. I think Finding Nemo and Finding Dory 10 or 15 times. Moana a handful of times. Like that's my daughter's game now. But I did watch Atypical on Netflix, which is a Netflix original series. It's about a high functioning teenager on the autism spectrum. He goes to a regular high school. He is in regular classes. He's not in advanced classes or special classes or anything like that. And it's just really about like this family. And the autism aspect of it, that's something that his character deals with. And then you get to see how all the other characters deal with that. But it's not the main focus point of the show. It's just about this family. And it stars, it's got Michael Rappaport in it. And I absolutely love Michael Rappaport.
Mostly everybody does.
And if you didn't catch Michael Rappaport's rant about everything that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia, which I drove through on my way home.
Did you really?
Yeah, I drove through
it. Oh, jeez.
I mean, I was a little bit earlier than it happened. It was hours later I got home that I found out what was going on. My parents were they left almost 8 hours after me. They were driving through Virginia when all that shit was going down. But his Michael Rappaport's rant on Charlottesville was fucking great. I love him as an actor, and I love him as a personality. And it also has Jennifer Jason Leigh in it, who plays the mother. And Jennifer Jason Leigh, you might not know, she doesn't do like a whole lot, but she was Daisy Domergue.
No, she's definitely she's one of those actresses where if you see her attached to a property, there's a reason for it.
Yeah,
like she picks her roles very carefully. Obviously, the more tend to being independent movies, high quality script, or director, something like that, where she's going to be really intrigued and it's going to be an interesting property. And
and it was it was very
this does sound like it.
It was very interesting. Something that me and you, who have worked in the industry with autism clients, people with intellectual disabilities, and people on various spectrums and stuff like that, you get to watch it sort of like a little bit of a different eye. And there's times where people treat him differently, and there's other times where you can applaud people for treating him like they would treat anybody else. And it's an absolute fun watch. I liken it to like a very smart like more indie version of like Grounded for Life or something like that, like a type of sitcom, but it's got a little bit more heart. It's got a little bit more meat on it than like your average sitcom. But I had a lot of fun watching it. Me and Lauren binge watched the entire thing this
30-minute episodes.
30-minute episodes. About. I mean, some of them run over.
I am intrigued. I will give it a pass and see how I like it. But
8 episodes, so it's super easy.
Oh, okay.
Super easy.
Sure.
And then we come to. So Game of Thrones, Jay, me and you are 2 weeks behind on talking about Game of Thrones since we missed 1 week, and then now we're this week we're all caught
it's gonna be hard to kind of remember all the little details. And
I remember, so there's like 2 things to really remember that I'm really picking up on that I really dug, at least anyway, from each episode. Arya fighting Brienne of Tarth.
Oh yeah,
that was fucking awesome.
Oh my god,
who taught you?
That was amazing.
Who taught you to fight like that? No one. I love that. And then, of course, the Field of Fire, where the Dothraki just descended on the Lannisters and absolutely devastated them. And of course, Jaime, seeing his opportunity, going after the dragon. He's gonna lance the dragon. He's gonna spear the dragon.
Well, how about Tyrion too? They cut to him quite a bit.
They did.
With his
That's this week. This past week. I'm talking about last week right now, where Bronn then basically spears him off of that horse, takes him into the water, and saves him. Stops him from he was going to be burned. He was fucking going to die. And then then we get to this week and we start talking about a lot of shit happened this week. This week was fucking huge. Now, me and you talked about it. I have some timeline issues. I know that you are.
I'm trying to reassure Dave constantly with
it's just
the fact that it's you just have to expect it, and I did right from the get go especially when I saw that they were going to have shortened seasons.
I did too. I mean, I expected it. I didn't expect it to be so jarring, and I think this episode from this week is the most jarring. Season 7, episode 5.
I think mostly because, well, one, right off the bat, they start off with just no explanation. Just, Jaime survived with all that armor, and,
Bronn got him out. Bronn doesn't wear heavy armor.
But they, somehow swam after he was see, that's the thing. It was misleading. That final shot of Jaime, it looked like he was going to die or something like that, questionably. But of course he wasn't, but we all knew that.
It's modern TV. You leave him wanting more.
It's really no explanation. He just, he saved him, and that was it. And they swam 100 yards with all that armor on, and okay, well, all right. And that's when I knew it was okay, they're all right.
Yeah, they're just running through it.
And then the next scene, he's already with his sister and planning.
Exactly. Now, I mean,
I was okay, all right. Now they're definitely jumping the gun here.
We also have Tyrion being a little bit the shock and awe on Tyrion's face when he got there. I mean, he's seen the dragons work before, but I don't think he's seen it on such a mass scale. And for you, those of you listening,
what they're capable of destroying armies.
For those of you listening, spoilers. I mean, we're going to spoil the shit out of the episode. I mean, so really only listen to these for if you're a fan of the show and you watch the show. If you're one of those people that waits for the whole season to be out and then you go back and rewatch it, don't listen to this. And stay off YouTube because people like to talk about the leaked episodes that are on there on YouTube. But anyway, it was Tyrion, the shock and awe on his face. You could tell that he was feeling somewhat remorseful about the way that it was done.
I think they're gearing up for a story shift in his character. With him being a bad hand right now, technically as far
he's not a bad hand. He's
not a bad hand, but he's not making the right decisions.
He is.
He's getting overplayed.
She's just not listening. He just doesn't know how to make her listen.
True, but also.
He says it to Varys, which the first time
his sister is kind of outmaneuvering him on the Iron Throne right now.
Because
sort of
spoilers in theory, there's a spy inside of Daenerys' court. There's got to be, right? Because Euron
I didn't really think about that.
Euron Greyjoy's ships just happened to descend on Theon as they were
exactly where they were. I know.
Exactly where they were, exactly where they were going, exactly when to attack them, and they knew exactly which ship the Sand Sisters were on. They knew exactly which ship.
It would help a lot with explanation as far as why she's getting plummeted as far as her schemes and her plans for the war. And then
mysteriously, Casterly Rock is wide open and they take it, and then they're trapped there. Like the only people who knew about these plans were the people that are in Daenerys' war room. So when you start narrowing it down, is it Missandei? No, it's not Missandei. She's never set foot on Westeros again. She has no contacts in Westeros, so it's not her. It's obviously not Jon and Davos, because they just came to Dragonstone, and when they went to Dragonstone, they had never met Daenerys or anything like that, and they have no qualms with her. If anything, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, so they're okay there. That really only leaves Tyrion, which I don't think it's in his character to double-cross her, and Varys. So it's obviously...
Varys has stated to her even, like,
I'll do what's right for the realm.
Exactly.
And we're starting to see with his conversation with Tyrion, when he's like, I advised her, and she burned, 2 lords. She burned the Tarleys. She ended their entire line. And he's like, you just got to make her listen. And he said to her previously in the episode before that he will do what's right for the realm. And he's always said, I'm doing what's right for the realm, which I always feel like he's doing what's right for the realm and doing what services him as well. But he's always doing what's right for the realm in his mind. And he's starting to see a line of madness in Dany, I think. And he might just be selling those secrets back to the Lannisters, because those are the devils that he knows. And if you actually go back and watch the episodes, it's a little odd. Varys has been with Daenerys for the past 2 seasons. He came over there with.
But do you think it's just too soon though?
But so he's been with her for the past 2 seasons, right? He came over the Narrow Sea with Tyrion. Mm-hmm. When he was drunk in the box on the ship. That episode that she accuses him of when he tried to have her killed and all this stuff, and she asked where his loyalties lie and all that stuff. That was the first time they had a speaking scene together on screen. The first time.
Wow.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense actually when you think about it.
So when you think about it, she's really the devil he doesn't know, and now he's starting to get to know her, and he's seeing another Targaryen that walks that line of genius and insanity, and the Lannisters, they play the game. Daenerys doesn't play the game.
Right, and he plays the game.
So wouldn't you rather play against someone who plays against the rules?
Exactly.
Like because he could take out the Lannisters. It
does make sense.
So I think he's the spy. And
it's the only one that actually makes practical sense.
Right.
However,
and Lauren's argument is it makes too much sense. It's too obvious to be him. And I said, well, we're kind of to the point where we're at the end of the story where obvious things are going to start coming to fruition. It was obvious that after a certain point that Jon was the bastard child of Lyanna and Rhaegar Targaryen. But in this episode, we just found out because Gilly has learned to read, and Sam, like any man, when his woman's talking and he's thinking, completely fucking ignored her. And she says that, there was an annulment in Dorne for some guy named Rhaegar. She couldn't pronounce his name. And he married another woman, and that was it. So his marriage to Martell was annulled. Therefore, he married Lyanna Stark in secret, which means Jon is not a bastard, which also means in the line of succession, that means that Jon has more claim to the throne than Daenerys does.
Yeah.
So what do you think will happen when Daenerys finds out that the throne that she thought has been rightfully hers from the beginning, and it was until it comes out,
he's her nephew
still. Right, but he not only is he her nephew.
I know.
He's the one in the line of succession.
It's going to be interesting. I think they're going to have a quick, heated lash out, and then they're going to kind of rebound, and then they're going to join together.
We know the characters aren't going to know to the end of this season. I mean, to the end of next season, maybe. Like it'll be next season, and all this shit starts coming out. Because as we see now, we're ramping up.
They still need to fuck.
Everyone wants that. I don't want that. I would like to see incest end in Game of Thrones. I want that to be the real moral of the story. Stop fucking.
It's far enough removed, right?
Stop fucking your relations, please. Far enough removed. Jay, why don't you go find your dad's sister and then fuck her?
Oh my God, no.
Yeah,
oh my
see,
God.
now think about it. Yeah, now think about it. Yeah, not far enough removed.
No.
They're not second, third cousins, my friend. That's his auntie.
Well, they're that good looking. It's kind of hard to, but
it's their auntie. So then they come up to the fact that there's a mission that needs to. They can get Cersei on their side if they can prove to her that the White Walkers are real and they're a real threat and there can be an armistice. And this is the part where the timeline started fucking with me so hard, because Tyrion's like, oh, I can get smuggled into King's Landing, and when I get there, I can meet in secret with my brother, and Davos, you're a smuggler, you can get me there. 2 scenes later, he's standing in the belly of the Red Keep.
Are they really that close to this place? Like,
Dragonstone is pretty close to King's Landing. It would probably be about a day's sail, maybe a little bit more than that. But as relatively as far as it goes for everything else, like I said, we know that Winterfell is a month's ride from King's Landing. It's faster to travel by sea from Dragonstone to King's Landing. But still, it just seems so weird that it was just the very next day. Here we are.
Again, I know. Yeah. Again, like Jaime was supposedly he tried to like flutter with the idea of like I'm supposed to hate you. I said I was going to kill you if I saw you again. Blah blah blah. We know that's not going to happen. They just have too much of a history, and ultimately,
I think a lot of his hate for him died after Lady Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns, told him that she was the one that killed Joffrey.
Right.
So a lot of his hate for him was fading at that point.
Sure.
Because now he knows that his brother, even though he killed their father, who they kind of all had a little bit of a distaste for.
Yes. And he explained why. I mean, he was like, well, he was going to kill him anyway. So essentially just
So
defending himself.
For Jaime's torn between his love for his brother and his love for his sister, his sexual love for his sister, and the type of love and pride and nobility you have to be part of a noble house. You don't kill your father in a noble house. You just don't do it. Unless you're Tyrion, who's been the bastard of that house. I thought that scene was pretty interesting, but then, we get to Davos just walking around King's Landing. He did say, I'm happy that they said something along the lines of, I tried brothels, I tried here, I tried there, because to the viewer's eye, without that little bit of exposition, it just seems like I walked up to the first blacksmith tent I saw, and here you are, Chief.
Yeah. And also they said that he hasn't been there in so many years where they wouldn't even be able to recognize him anymore. And I appreciate that, because I picked up on that.
They even do a nod to the fans where when we haven't seen Gendry for 3 seasons and fans just keep asking, where's Gendry? And then the joke is he's still rowing. So obviously that was the joke, the thing online, the meme online. So it was kind of funny that Davos said to him, I thought you'd still be rowing. But what I didn't like in that scene was he doesn't even get done explaining everything that's going on, and Gendry goes, I'm ready, let's go.
Yeah. He's like, I've
had a bag packed
my whole life. Yeah, no, he's just been waiting for someone to come and just take him away.
Shut the fuck up, don't say anything else, I'm on board. Did we just become best friends? Yep. and then even then, like when Gendry goes to meet Jon Snow and Davos is telling him, now don't tell him that you're Robert's bastard. Now, he doesn't need that on his mind. He walks up and he goes, I'm Gendry, Robert's bastard. He was supposed to keep that to himself.
I think they're going to get along because they're both brutally honest people.
Well, that's one of the things.
They're honorable and they're loyal, and they just want to do the right thing.
If you really get deep into the lore of like Game of Thrones, that's the way Northern people are. The Northerners are just very, no pun intended, stark, just very cold, and they say what they mean.
Blunt and honest.
Yeah, blunt and honest. Like it's. I mean, if you remember the very first episode, you've gotten fat. And he just looks at the king. And then later on at the tournament, when Ned comes into the tent and they're trying to put that breastplate on Robert and it doesn't fit, and he's like, it doesn't fit because you've gotten fat. So they're very blunt. They say what they mean, and it just comes out. And, and
I'm always drawn to people like that because I'm not like that.
That's the way I am. And so for John, that level of honesty automatically gains him slight bits of respect. And then the fact that their fathers obviously fought together, John grew up on those stories, and Gendry has a deep want to learn who his father was and what he was. So there will be a bond there. And I did enjoy that. And then, of course, the game plan is catch a white, bring it to King's Landing, show Cersei, and everyone...
It's a retarded idea.
Everybody will sing Kumbaya, and
God.
Azor Ahai will be found, and White Walkers will be vanquished, and blah, blah, blah. It seems like such a dumb plan.
And then, again, in the same episode, they're beyond the wall, just ready to start tracking down. I mean, like...
Shit that would normally take a season and a half to get through.
Exactly.
Just went through in one episode.
Oh, God. It's like, we're getting our cake and we're eating it too. It's one of those things where, like, it is what it is. Everybody who watches Game of Thrones knows that it's a big, long, slow burn cock tease of a series, essentially.
Yeah.
And now it's just accumulated
It's racing to the end, and we're all like, whoa, slow down.
We're having, like, this hot and heavy, like,
slow down
situation going on.
Cradle the balls a little.
Yeah. And they're not cradling.
No,
they're just
balls
they're just pumping them out, man. They're pumping them out.
Out so hard, my balls are just swinging, and they're starting to ache a little bit with how hard they're hitting the side of my legs.
Slapping a little too hard, but
so of course we do wrap around to the first.
But it's still enjoyable.
We do wrap around to the first episode at the end, when we find out that Sandor Clegane, the Hound, and the rest of the Men Without Banners are locked up in Eastwatch because Tormund's Rangers found them and locked them in there.
They got themselves a Riley bunch together. To tell you.
And of course, I did like that scene because there's history there where it's like John doesn't know any of them other than the Hound, and he has somewhat of a history with the Hound, and but Jorah Mormont knows one of them, and Gendry obviously doesn't like them because they traded him to a woman who was going to kill him. I kind of enjoyed that little aspect of.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun this coming season, this coming episode, because
now
they're going to get themselves into some hot water.
This coming episode is the one where the script was leaked online. I didn't look at it, and I don't want spoilers like that. But some people might know what's going to happen. There's a lot of rumors out there. I don't care. I'm happy that I'm going into it blind. I'm happy that I'm just going to see it as it was meant to be seen. I don't give a fuck about leaks. I'll see it when it's meant to be seen.
Yeah, I don't care about that stuff either.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this next episode. However, like I'm a little bit disappointed now because as I'm coming to grips with the fact that shit's going to be moving fast, it's kind of weird that this next episode is all going to take place behind the wall. And it's 72 minutes.
Oh, so the whole thing is going to be behind a wall.
That was what I was told. That's what I read. It's 72 minutes. The whole thing is beyond the wall. There might be a little bit of Winterfell.
Sounds a little excessive.
Might be a little thing in Winterfell with Bran. But other than that, everything's beyond the wall.
Huh.
Yeah. And we didn't even get into...
there's going to be some deaths.
We didn't even get into
count on that.
What's been going on with Arya and Littlefinger, where Littlefinger kind of led a trail of breadcrumbs for her to find Sansa's letter. And we know that they've been butting heads.
But is it a real letter?
Like, no, that is. That's the letter that Cersei forced Sansa to write in the first season.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Asking Robb to denounce the King of the North and come and swear his fealty to Joffrey. So it is a letter that she wrote under duress, but the rest of her family might not know.
And Arya doesn't know that.
Arya doesn't know that. And also, I think we're unraveling Littlefinger a little bit now. Arya is going to be the one with her spy skills that's going to unravel Littlefinger and be the one to use the cat's paw dagger to kill him, which would be justice,
I think so. It'll come.
Yeah. So
eventually.
So that was, that stuff is interesting. I think
when she finds out that he's been spying on her,
right?
That'll be the nail in the coffin.
And so that stuff is interesting in its own right. And then Bran obviously still is green seeing. He's sitting next to the weirwood tree. He's warging into a flock of crows. And I loved that scene where the Night's King just the Night King. If you say Night's King, you're talking about something that's from the books and the lore. If you talk about Night King, you're talking about what that guy is from the series who hasn't shown up in the books yet. Turns and looks at the flock, and they all just break apart. He breaks his warg. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's so. I'm really. Bran is. They've been slowly, very slowly, gearing. Like everybody knew that he had to become some kind of important figure in this show, and now he's becoming slowly. Still,
he's not just the linchpin. He's the focal point. Like
right, but like still. What's his purpose? Like he hasn't done anything. Because you know everything.
Do you want to know what I think?
You're not doing anything about it.
You want to know what I think? I think him and the Night King are the same person.
Oh.
And I think he has been multiple Brendan Starks throughout history.
Well, that's an interesting theory.
Or at least has orchestrated a lot of what has happened throughout Westeros history in an attempt to stop the coming.
Doesn't really make any sense, though,
doesn't it? We've already seen that he can influence the past. We already see that by combining what he knows from the future with Hodor from the past, he broke that dude's fucking mind.
Huh.
And we knew that at the Tower of Joy, he whispered his father. He whispered to his father. His father heard his name in the whispers of the wind.
Right.
And that was Brandon who was talking to him.
Wow.
And there's also the theory that Brandon tries to talk to the Mad King from the past and tell him to burn them all. Which is why the Mad King went mad with the phrase, burn them all, burn them all. And so there's some breadcrumbs left to make you think.
He's going to have some big episodes to come, for sure.
I would love to see a whole episode of him just green seeing. I don't think it'll happen this season. Of him just going back in the past. We take a look at things that we've heard so much about but have never seen. We see, things that happen.
Episode. I don't want to see a full episode, a half episode.
Things that happened during Robert's Rebellion, things that happened during, the Targaryen takeover, things that happened long before that, where it was the first men versus the children of the forest taking over Westeros. Like, I think all of that stuff, all of that lore has a lot to do with where this is going to lead. Because you got to remember, this is all a fantasy story, and it all builds on layers. Like, things that we learn throughout the story has to build to a point. Everything has to have a reason behind it. I think there still will be things left in the winds by the end, but the majority of things, especially when it comes to Bran and what he sees, will be extremely important. It was a long conversation on Game of Thrones, but it's all right. We went 2 weeks without talking about it. Very happy.
Yep.
We've only got 2 weeks left to talk about it, so.
I know.
So stay tuned, because coming up next, Jay has an film, and he is going to talk about it in his little indie corner. I will have a fake synopsis. As you heard, he doesn't mind creeping up on your lady, so be aware when you go in and you see this man with his Dapper Dan hair and his curly mustache with his suspenders, square frame glasses, and he's looking so hipster, because he's a creep. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Jay's Indie Corner. Jay has a little indie darling that he saw over the weekend that he wants to bring and talk about to you, and I have a fake synopsis ready.
Well, I have The Beguiled, Dave.
So,
came out a couple months ago in theaters.
I did hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about it. I couldn't even tell you who stars in it, but it's a movie that, like, I've heard the name. I heard people talking about it. I knew that it was something I wouldn't be interested in.
No.
Kind of figured it's something you'd be interested in.
Yes.
But The Beguiled, what I think The Beguiled is about. I didn't see a trailer for it, so I literally know zero about it, other than its name. But I did look up the definition for beguiled, which means to be charming and deceptive. So what I think Beguiled is about, it's about a guy who he spends his nights going to the bars, and he's a very charming motherfucker, and he charms women out of their pants. That's what this film's about. It's about, but what it's really about is him, and it's almost like a Hitch type scenario where he's trying to talk to somebody and teach them how to do what he does, like in the vein of Hitch, in the vein of Crazy Stupid Love.
So, like my mentor.
You have a mentor?
No.
Do you need a mentor? Because I'm picturing you as the guy who is beguiled and cheating women out of their
He's like
fucking
my
pants.
fantasy mentor. Almost.
But what you don't know is that he's knocked up 37 of these women that he's beguiled in the past 12 months. And he's just figuring it all out. So he has degrees of women coming to him through various stages of pregnancy. And some of them already have the kid born. And it winds up being a mass court battle with these women going after him for custody. That's where the movie ends, in court.
Well, that kind of goes out in a whimper.
Right? Well, no. I mean, what really goes out in a whimper is when he winds up homeless and living on the streets.
Reminds me of that movie Spread
With
that I talked about before with Ashton Kutcher.
And the only thing he has to eat is the crabs from his raging case of crabs. Crabs so huge they look like Alaskan kings. I really have no fucking clue what this movie's about, Jay. So I mean, I'm just making shit up as I go along.
Oh, we know. That's why it's a fake synopsis.
It's a terrible synopsis this time, but whatever.
I'd watch it.
You gave me a one-word movie to come up with, so
and it's a weird word.
I have nothing to go off.
Nobody knows the meaning of. All right, so this film is written and directed by Sofia Coppola.
Of course, it sounds like her movie.
Of course, it has a great female ensemble.
Of course, again.
Of course, yeah, and with Nicole Kidman and Elle Fanning, Kirsten Dunst, the girl that played Ryan Gosling's daughter in The Nice Guys. She makes an appearance even.
So everybody, so every
blonde,
every actress you expect. It's like from all of her movies that she's had before. Because wasn't Elle Fanning in one of her films before?
Fanning was in Somewhere,
and Kirsten
Dunst was
Kristen
in
Dunst
a couple movies, The Virgin Suicides.
And she was also in I keep saying Lady Antebellum. It's not in my head. It's not Lady
Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette. There you go. Lady Antebellum.
Yes. No. What?
Where do I pull these things out of my head?
I have no idea.
Just the indie circuit. It just kills me. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they're staying in a large home in the South during the Civil War, where they come across a wounded soldier played by the great Colin Farrell. I love Colin Farrell.
Is he great?
He's kind of great.
He's good.
He's good. He's very good. Put it that way.
You love.
He's not great, but he's very good.
I love him in things like In Bruges. But there's so many things I don't love him in. I think anything mainstream Hollywood he does sucks.
Exactly. He can't do mainstream. They try to make him mainstream, but he's a great actor in independent films for some reason. And he has a lot of movies like The Lobster. He's got 2 really independent Euro films coming out this year.
Have you decided
that are very peculiar?
Have you decided what animal you'd like to be? I'd like to be a lobster. A lobster is an excellent choice.
I love when you say that. And so they help him, shelter him, and each girl kind of gets drawn to him for multiple different kind of reasons.
Because he's the only dick in a 50-mile radius?
Pretty much.
All
and
right.
It's obvious that they are not used to having a man around for quite some time because we're smack in the middle of the war. And his stay leads to events that really shake up the household. And as always, Sofia brings this amazing, gorgeous-looking film to screen. And what was really cool was you get that Savannah, Georgia kind of cicadas and the mossy trees, and you just get that feeling of that
South.
time period, the South. Yeah, really, really well.
So a little bit less Gone with the Wind, a little bit more like Mud. Mud, I feel like really captured
Kind
the
of,
South.
but yeah. And so the acting is really solid across the board. The story ended up going in a kind of predictable way, but however,
all of them got the D fever.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of expected it because the
end,
trailer showed that it was going to turn into a dark, twisted kind of way, and
by the end, they're all just clamoring for that D.
Give me your dick. No. And
break out into song. Give me that dick, baby. I need it long time. I've been barren, and I just can't stop thinking about you. Give me that dick deep. Give me that dick. You heard it here first. It's the first.
It's a great song.
Super Movie Brothers single. It's a little derivative.
Give it to me deep and long time. But it's a solid little movie, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was a good change up for the summertime, and it's a B. For me, it's a B. It was a decent movie. That's it, Dave.
Good deal. All right. So coming up next, me and Jay are going to be reviewing 2 beers for you. We've ended our summer beers, so we're going to be getting into just a little bit of just some random stuff for a little while until we get into our next round of themed beers that we're going to be doing. And then be sure to stay tuned because after that, me and Jay are going to be ranking our top 5 favorite directors. I was to specify favorite because we're not AFI. We're not saying these are the fucking best. We're saying these
This
are
was
favorite.
extremely difficult for us.
And then we're also doing our favorite film by that director. So I think mine is probably going to piss some people off with some of my
I think
list.
mine will too, maybe.
So stay tuned for beers. Welcome back to our beer segment. Finished up doing summer beers last time. We're just kind of like in a little bit of in between here, so we're just kind of do random beers for the next 2 weeks until we get into September, when we're going to start doing Oktoberfest beers for the entire month. So
Exciting.
yeah. Well, you like Oktoberfest. I'm okay on some of them, but
Yeah, I mean, well, they are very hit or miss.
yeah.
However, when it hits,
Yeah,
they're
they're
really good.
And then in October, we will do your least favorite type of beer. My least favorite type of beer, pumpkin beers.
Well, I'm curious to see if we're going to be repeating any.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
It
if we
doesn't matter,
do.
but
It really doesn't matter.
but I'm curious to see what pops up.
Yeah.
Because we just kind of go with our gut, like whatever is there at the time.
Well, there was when we were
there's a
on,
lot of turnover where we go to get our beers at.
where we were on vacation. Lauren, if you remember, like a while back, we reviewed the Voodoo Ranger line of IPAs by New Belgium. Well, New
Yes.
Belgium has a Voodoo Ranger Atomic Pumpkin that came out.
Sounds interesting.
It's a little early, being that we found it in early August, well, mid-August. But I bought it for Lauren. She really likes it. We got a couple of them in the fridge, so if we can find those around that time, that'll be a new one that we can do. But Lauren really likes it, and she knows her pumpkin beers. Me, I just hate all pumpkin beers. I just don't like them. Just can't stand them.
I know, me neither. I mean, there was a time when I was into pumpkin flavored coffee.
Okay, all right.
But this was, probably about 12 years ago, 15 years ago, and nowadays not so much anymore.
Everything is all pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice. Yeah,
It was so new and exciting and different.
We got to go through, like, now it's like, it used to be like a month of pumpkin spice stuff, like October. Like,
my
you had to
God.
deal with it through October. Now you have to deal with it from end of August all the way through, like, Christmas time. Like,
Pretty much.
yeah, you got to put up with, like,
Yeah.
3.5 months of fucking pumpkin flavored shit.
It's like pumpkin pie too. I love pumpkin pie, and I am a little bit of a little critic with pumpkin pies. I'm very snobby with,
Okay.
how good they are.
Yeah, okay.
And yeah, it's the same thing, dude. You can't get away from it after a while, and all of a sudden it's like
I feel like that's a
pumpkin
weird.
pie.
I feel like it's a weird thing to put your flag in. Just like, I review movies, beers, and pumpkin pies. Those 3 things exclusively. Everything else in the world I know nothing about.
Well,
But
you can't go wrong with the farmers market because the farmers, the Amish people, they know what they're doing.
the Amish.
The Amish,
It's not, I mean, they don't always. That's not always. Farmers markets are not always run by Amish. The
one I go to is
one, they might not even be Amish, Jay. They might be Mennonite. They dress like Amish, but they will use modern amenities.
they have a $2 million house in the countryside. Just
Mennonite are very close to Amish, but they're Amish light. They're Amish light, but they will drive their own cars. So it's possible that
You
when
got
you go to
iPhones
when you
and,
go to the farmers market and you see Brother Hezekiah, he might not be Amish. He might be
Okay.
Mennonite.
It's good acting on their part.
You review pumpkin. You review pumpkin pies. I review religions of central Pennsylvania. I'm a snob.
Well,
when
you
it
went
comes
to
to
school
them
out
Amish.
there, so you know a little bit. Some cow tipping, what? I don't
Just a
know.
bit. It was cow drop kicking when I got
Jesus
drunk.
Christ.
I mean, it's hard to push a cow over. It's not that easy. I mean,
I could see you doing some tackling and shoulder checks. And
Oh God, you would break your arm like it. These things are solidly built.
Are they really?
Yeah. Oh, I never
have
actually.
no idea.
I never actually went cow tipping. It seems like a
Yeah.
terrible idea.
Oh, it does. I don't know.
Since I always heard a rumor
I
like
would
the cow
feel
died.
so bad.
I was always afraid that it was gonna be like Animal House
Break its ribs or something.
when they fired the gun off and the horse has a heart attack. I would have felt terrible
Oh my God.
if I drop kicked a fucking cow and it just goes down. It doesn't get back up. All right, Jay, you have a beer you want to
I
review,
do.
so why don't you go ahead and hit that up?
Okay, so one of our local small breweries, Vault in Yardley, Pennsylvania, has a Modern Muse IPA from their can line that they just kind of dropped this year, I believe.
It's not even a brewery; it's a brew pub. Like
Brew Pub, yeah, it's not even. Yeah, you're right.
it's not even like a micro brew. I mean,
You're right,
It's very small.
but they're growing.
Yeah,
They are pretty popular, and
yeah. Like their vats aren't terribly huge. Their vats are like 50 to 100 gallons. Like that's it.
right.
They're not huge.
I'm sure. I have a feeling that they're probably gonna expand. Maybe not so much expand. They'll keep that same location, but I think they might open up another location at some point, probably, because they are making that much money. This is a session ale with names I cannot pronounce, but it's called the Modern Muse IPA, and it's 5.0 alcohol by volume. And this beer is it's a great session IPA. I mean, it's fantastic. I really, really like it. It's one of my favorite beers from Vault's IPA line because it has a little bit of everything. It's got a nice little citrus flavor to it. Full mouth feel of hops and
Mouth feel.
as soon as I said that, I was thinking of Nick. I'm like, and I just really enjoyed it. It's very drinkable, and I'm gonna probably
The words you're looking for are
give it a 4.
Waimea and Simcoe hops.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
I have no idea what that is, but yeah.
All right, so you're going to give that one a 4. And the beer I'm drinking is the High Tide from Port Brewing Company that is out of San Marcos, California. Now, this is an Indian Pale Ale that it says rich in citrus. So it's a citrusy IPA, and it has notes of tangerine and stone fruit. And the hops that are in it are Simcoe and Amarillo hops. So, you get a little bit of that. You get a little bit of a piney flavor with it, but not too much because it is a West Coast IPA. It's very hop forward, with its flavor, and you definitely get notes of like the citrus, especially in like that aftertaste. You get a little bit of like that acidy grapefruit like aftertaste, but it's mostly okay. I mean, I enjoy it. It's nothing I'm ever going to seek out again now. But I mean,
really?
as far as it
Okay.
goes, yeah, it's pretty well balanced. I find the aftertaste to be a little bit too harsh though.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with a 3 on it. So it's not nothing terrible to write home about, but
Sure.
yeah, I'm going to go with a 3.
Middle
for
of the
it.
road kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Middle of the road.
And that's the worst part though. The bad aftertaste. It just
Yeah.
it sticks with you, and then you're like, do I really want to have that again? Nah, maybe not. I'm gonna go buy a different 6-pack.
Man, I thought on vacation that I was going to find some micro brews and stuff like that, some craft beer that I don't get up here very often. Myrtle Beach is dry on that shit, man. I mean, they do have like micro breweries, but they really only serve. They're like Broken Goblet.
Okay.
You got to go in there to get it. And the closest one was like 25 miles from us, so we didn't make it
geez.
down there.
Yeah.
So it would have been. It was like an hour.
And Myrtle
drive.
Beach is big.
Yeah, yeah, it was like an hour. It was South Myrtle. We were in North Myrtle, so we didn't end up going there. But they did have
All those lights.
they did have a stout that was a s'mores stout. So I was like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. I would like to go.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like
I
to
feel
check
like
that out.
there's got to be a s'more stout somewhere around
Maybe
Halloween
but
time.
I never got out there, and it was seasonal, and I didn't know whether that was in season or not. So we ended up not going there. And
I like
went
s'mores Pop Tarts.
to all the. I do not. Every there's no beer stores like we have here and stuff like that specialize in beer. It's the supermarkets. Like the supermarkets have the beer.
Right.
So I had to like ask locals like what supermarkets to go to buy beers, and everyone said the IGA, like the Bolino's IGA, which is like right down the corner from where we were staying. So it wasn't too bad. But we went there. Craft beer selection was not good. I ended up buying a 12 case of Sweetwater mixed IPAs, and then I bought a 12 pack of, I think it was Lagunitas that they had. and that was it. Like,
Really?
yeah, it wasn't.
So not real craft beer.
Not real craft beer.
Yeah.
No. So it was struck out a little bit when I was down there. But don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed I still enjoyed the beers I was drinking. I mean, I enjoy Sweetwater a little bit. I was actually surprised that
I'm a little surprised. I feel like I know Myrtle Beach is a weird town, and maybe they just haven't quite tapped into that market yet, or allowed that market to tap into their city yet. Put it that way.
That's exactly what it is. It's a family town. You know,
it's a family, and they're very old school, and they just it's been that way for many, many years. If you've been there, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
it hasn't changed,
especially
much.
where we were, North Myrtle. That's the houses on the beach, less of the hotels on the beach.
Well,
so
that's really, where I've been as well.
It's not really a party area. It's people hanging out on the beach, drinking on their porch at night. You know, and that's really like the atmosphere they have. If you go further down to Myrtle Beach proper or South Myrtle Beach, that's where you get those big high-rise hotels, and you get all the nightclubs, you get all the strip clubs, you get all. That's where the nightlife is. If you want to go down and
I never ventured down that way
and do some of that stuff. We ventured down. It's you have to be into that type of stuff, and I'm not. Let's go to a fucking bubble rave.
He was going to turn into John Wick in a nightclub if he goes to a nightclub.
Yeah, I can't. It's just not my. I've been to them before. I've given them their fair shake. I just don't. Yeah. I don't dance. I mean, I dance a little bit, but I don't like. I'm not the type of guy who's going to go creeping up on a woman and start dancing in the fucking bubbles.
I
and
love
shit.
Creeping up on some booty.
I know you do. Fucking major creep right there. All right, so coming up next, me and Jay got a top 5 for you. We are going to be talking about our top 5 directors and our favorite film from that director, as well as going over what you submitted to us on Twitter for what your list for favorite directors were. So stay tuned. Welcome back, and me and Jay are now going to be talking about our top 5 directors, but before we get into it, we did reach out to everybody on Twitter. We got a few responses, so we're going to be going through everyone's responses on Twitter. Some people actually gave us a full list. Other people just said, 1 or 2 directors. So we got Tom from Jake and Tom Conquer at The Drunken Dork on Twitter. He said Orson Welles, and his favorite is The Magnificent Ambersons. He also said that he also added Clint Eastwood, and his favorite for Clint Eastwood is The Unforgiven. He said Mel Brooks, and he couldn't pick a favorite for this one, so he said Blazing Saddles, Young Frankenstein, and the original The Producers. He also said Sergio Leone. He also said Sergio Leone for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. He also said Sam Peckinpah for Straw Dogs, which I
didn't see the original. I saw the remake.
Oh, the remake's terrible. The original with Dustin Hoffman's absolutely fucking amazing. It's an amazing film. And then we have Ashley Wright at AshleyGW1983 on Twitter. She's the host of the Rabbit Ears podcast, which is an offshoot of Via VHS. It's also part of our Podfix network. Jake and Tom Conquer is also part of our Podfix network. She said Edgar Wright, and her favorite Edgar Wright film is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She also said James Cameron for True Lies, Steven Spielberg for Jurassic Park, Back to the Future for Zemeckis, and The Dark Knight for Christopher Nolan. And bonus director, she has Quentin Tarantino for The Inglourious Bastards.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, cool.
Paul from the Countdown Pod at the Countdown PC, he said, see episode 121 of our show. Because recently, episode 121, they did their top 10 directors of all time. They didn't add in any like their favorite movies, but throughout it, they do talk about what makes them great. And of course, the movies that they do is what makes them great. So make sure to check out episode 121 of the Countdown Pod for a more comprehensive list of their favorite directors. And also be prepared to get really pissed off at Wayne's list. Wayne's a weird guy. That's all I got to say. And then we have at Movie Geekcast. This is Justin from So I Married a Movie Geek. He says Steven Spielberg for Temple of Doom, James Cameron for Aliens, John Carpenter for The Thing, Quentin Tarantino for Pulp Fiction, and Paul Thomas Anderson for Boogie Nights. So now we know that Justin loves 12 to 13 inch long penises. Give me that dick. Amanda's Pick Show a Go-Go at Amanda's Pick Show on Twitter. She is the host of the Amanda's Pick Show a Go-Go podcast. Says Wes Anderson, Fantastic Mr. Fox. So an animated film being listed here for favorite director for an animated film, which Fantastic Mr. Fox is one of my favorite animated films. So stylistic, so weird, such a great voice cast. Denis Villeneuve. She says Passengers, but I don't think Denis Villeneuve did Passengers.
I think she means Prisoners.
Prisoners. There we go. Good job. And Prisoners was it was a little bit of a sleeper, man. I don't think that did so well in the theaters. Like people didn't go.
It did okay. It made 75 domestically.
Okay. All right.
Which is for a mid-budget movie.
It probably cost what, 25 to 30 to make?
But I would say between 30 and 40.
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right,
maybe,
so it made its money, yeah. Joe Wright for Pride and Prejudice, Alfred Hitchcock for North by Northwest, and Martin Scorsese for Goodfellas. I don't know, man. For me, Scorsese for me is a different director now than he was then. I far more enjoy what Scorsese does today than what he did
back in the day, in the 70s and 80s and stuff. Yeah.
I am not a big mafia guy. Like that's just
I am, but I unfortunately, as you guys know, I have not really caught up with the classics as much as I should, like all the 70s and 80s ones that he did that really put him on the map. I haven't seen yet.
I mean, I don't like The Aviator, and I don't like Shutter Island, but I
don't like Shutter Island.
I absolutely
The Aviator has its moments, but I
absolutely love The Departed. I absolutely love Gangs of New York, Wolf of Wall Street. Like I think what he's been doing of late is, and I'm super excited for what The Irishman.
Oh yeah,
I'm super excited for that.
That's either going to be massively bad or massively amazing.
I know
it's either gonna work or it's not.
Anyone's guess. Now in Technicolor Pod at Now in Tech Pod. This is John, my co-host for episode 54 of Super Movie Brothers. He said Hitchcock for Psycho, Robert Zemeckis for Back to the Future, Edgar Wright for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Quentin Tarantino for Pulp Fiction, and Mel Brooks for Spaceballs. More Gooder Than Podcast. This is Chris from the More Gooder Than Podcast at MGT Podcast on Twitter. He says all I know is that Scorsese is not on my list. Holmes Movies at Holmes Movies Pod on Twitter said Wes Anderson, Darjeeling Limited, Coen Brothers, The Big Lebowski, John Ford, The Searchers, Hitchcock for Rear Window, and Christopher Nolan for Memento. Now I'm loving this because
good list.
Because some of these directors that people are picking are on my list, but I have different movies.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
Yeah.
But the thing that I find amazing is he has John Ford for The Searchers. And that is one of my favorite John Wayne films. Like John Ford directed John Wayne in several films. All of them are some of his best Westerns as well. So
he was the most popular director back in the day. I mean, he
absolutely
was.
And me and him talked about on Twitter for a little bit that that I grew up on John Wayne films. He grew up on John Wayne films. And that's just one of those things that we absolutely, just really seem to have in common. So really dig all that. I really dig everybody's list a little bit. I don't think I would say anybody is absolutely wrong in anything that they said in their list that they provided on Twitter. So I want to thank everybody for participating. And then we're going to get into our top 5. So as always, we're going to start in descending order. Jay will start with his number 5 and the film that he thinks is the best. I will start with my number 5 and we'll move down to our number 2. We'll do our honorable mentions and then we will move to our number 1. So Jay, what is your number 5 for best directors?
So let's first off just start by saying this essentially for us, at least for me, is favorite directors, but also like rewatchability and embodiment of work.
It's true.
Like if I'm stuck on a stranded island and I have to see these 5 directors' films, their filmographies and all that, Thank you.
Yeah, I looked at you. I was like, don't say filmography. Don't say filmography.
These are the guys, I think.
Yeah,
and also in the future too. Looking forward to the future.
I did it in a bit of the same way. I looked at it as their body of work, but also the film that I loved the most and where that fit in, but like also like their mainly like their body of work and stuff like that.
I mainly try to do with the body.
So you
of work.
might see some directors that I have in my honorable mentions for a film or two that I absolutely love, but when you look at their body of work,
this was really hard for me.
It was hard.
this top 5.
This was hard.
I have a ton of honorable mentions.
I actually just switched my number 5 out and dropped someone to the bottom.
I've been swapping
and I think
people in and out.
I think the
long.
one I dropped to my honorable mentions list is probably someone that no one really had in their favorite directors list, so I think I might be okay with it. But Jay, why don't you start with your number 5?
All right, I'm going to actually start off with Alfonso Cuarón. I'm going to choose Children of Men.
Oh yeah,
this was hard for me. So I first took notice of him way back in the 90s when Dave, I actually did read this book. This was probably the one book I actually read in school.
Y tu mama también.
No, Great Expectations.
Y tu mama también.
Yeah. I do love that movie, though.
It's a good movie, yeah.
Great Expectations came out in 98, right before he did
That's a film.
Y tu mama también.
It's a film. That's a story.
It's an okay film. It's nothing great. But I remember reading the book. It was my project. Like I had to read the book and watch the movie and, do a whole book report or whatever on it and everything. And it was really cool, and I loved the book, and I loved the movie too because you could see a lot of it come out on screen. And for me, it was kind of neat to see that. Great
Expectations is one of those things that's like required reading in sophomore, junior, senior year of high school. But that movie. In school we watched that movie, but we went back and we watched a 1940s version of it that I thought was actually way better than
But I saw this movie so many times, but and I really did enjoy it.
Children of Men, come on,
exactly. And the Y tu mama también, I that holds a special place in my heart. I mean, I really enjoyed that movie a lot, and Children of Men blew me away. I mean, that one take. And in a sci-fi dystopian world of like London or something like that, how did he pull that off? I do not know.
And he actually changed the story from the book for Children of Men because the book had an ending with him being some sort of dictator, like sort of like a reluctant dictator. Like he didn't want to become a leader, and he did. But in that, he smartly saw that was not the way to end his film. With the way that he saw it, he smartly had him. Meet the demise that he did. And the film was absolutely perfect. It's one of my favorite films of the 2000s. One of my favorite like little films that people, when I ask people if they've seen it, they say they haven't seen it. It's one of those things where it's just like
you say like you have to go see this movie.
See it now.
Period.
Now.
Yeah. Yes.
He also directed one of the best Harry Potter films, my favorite Harry Potter film, The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yes, he did.
So
and Gravity, I actually really enjoyed.
Not me. I'm not a huge fan of this film.
I saw this is the one other movie that I saw in IMAX 3D that I really, really liked. I thought he did a pretty good job with capturing space and that feeling and a claustrophobic feeling with you and Sandra Bullock. It was technically a pretty cool achievement.
I like watching this movie with Neil deGrasse Tyson commentary over it. That couldn't happen.
But I know he has not that many films under his resume, but he has a lot of movies that just really hold a special place in my heart. And I'm looking forward to the future. Because he doesn't have that many films out there.
Beautiful with Javier Bardem that was nominated. I've seen that. So. Jay, that's a good director to throw on there. His body of work for me doesn't speak volumes for me. Y tu mama también, I've seen that. It's a good film, but that's not like rewatchability for most of these films is zilch, with the exception of Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which is the only Harry Potter film I really, really enjoy. For me, Gravity, not that big of a deal, not that big of a film. Children of Men, obviously. His best, like absolutely best, and I wish that we got more from a director like him in that type of vein. For me, my number 5 is Wes Anderson, And I know we had two people tell us that their favorite was Fantastic Mr. Fox. Another one said it was the Darjeeling Limited. I've heard people say that their favorite is the Royal Tenenbaums, which I think is the most commercial one. I think it's the one that's most
Well, I do really like that movie a lot.
That's the one that gets the most play. But for me, my favorite is The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
I know.
I fucking love this movie.
I know you do.
I recently, John from Now in Technicolor watched it, and I was so happy that I've gotten someone to watch this movie, because I talk about it, and most people are just like, it's not my type of thing. I absolutely love Wes Anderson's style. I love the fact that like every single scene is just so vivid, so bright with color. Yeah. And he's even said as a director,
like a painting on screen almost.
As a director, he said like I want every scene to be, you can take every frame of my film and hang it as a poster, like in an art gallery. Like that's what I want it to look like. And I love that. And I love in The Life Aquatic that, he always used real sets. He always used either he built it or it's an existing structure that he used. For The Life Aquatic, he actually had people build and use claymation and use for some people it's off-putting in the film. For me, I absolutely feel that it just adds to the mystique of it. Like there's this scene where he just kind of
you're not used to seeing this on screen.
Right, he just kind of cuts in and Bill Murray's like right in the middle of a scene. Bill Murray cuts in and goes, "Let me tell you about my boat." And he starts going through the different levels of the Belafonte. And some of the lines in this film are epically quotable. And Wes Anderson writes most of his scripts with Jason Schwartzman and sometimes with Owen Wilson as well. So it's just absolutely gorgeous to look at, absolutely fun. It's a hilarious film. It is. How do I put it, man? It's kind of like Anchorman meets like an indie film. Like that's the way this Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is. I absolutely love the film, and if you haven't seen it, please. This is probably like the third time I've talked about it in the show. Yeah, and of late, it's worth it. It's so worth it.
Did you like Moonrise Kingdom?
I did. I haven't disliked any of his films.
Okay.
To varying degrees, I like them, and they go in order. Sure. Moonrise Kingdom for me is at the bottom. Grand Budapest Hotel is right up there with Life Aquatic for me. Royal Tenenbaums is right up there, but I just feel like his stylistic choices with the
Grand Budapest Hotel I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most recent film that I really enjoyed and liked and had a lot of good.
The reason I bring up Life Aquatic as my favorite for him is I feel like that's the one where he took the most risks. Like he went as Wes Anderson as he could for that film. It was just like, I don't give a fuck.
Because that followed up his commercial success with Royal Tenenbaums.
Right.
Yeah.
And every animal he has in it is a fake animal. They don't fucking exist.
Yeah.
So I love things like that.
It fits. Yeah.
It's so fantasy, but it's so, and Bill Murray is so, you feel like Bill Murray is Bill Murray in that film, but like he's like the amped up ego version of Bill Murray. Oh my God. Watch that film.
Yeah, he was filming that the exact same time during the word circuit for Lost in Translation. I remember that for some reason. Yeah, I think. So now my number 4, Dave. I have to go with Richard Linklater.
I could see this for you.
Oh yeah,
he's not on my list.
100%. I mean, I have many movies.
I tried to go visual on my list, like people that tell you a great story and make it visually interesting. Linklater for me tells you an extremely interesting story and frames like he's more of a story director than he is a visual director.
He is, which is surprising because that's not normally how I am.
Right.
However, his stories hit me for some reason.
Obviously, dude. Like we've talked about
I know.
Before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight, like
that I have to lump them. I say the Before trilogy. I mean, like those are my jam. That's my films.
I have to warn people, don't watch those. We talk about them a few times on the show. Before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight. Don't watch them all in one sitting. You will get fatigued by midway through Before Sunset, even though it's the shortest one. Watch them one night, then watch the next one the next night, then watch the next one the next night. It works a little bit better. Don't fatigue yourself because these films are literally 2-hour long conversations between two people.
Yes. Well, the second movie is the shortest one. It's
like literally 86 minutes.
Yeah, it's under 90 minutes. So But Dazed and Confused, I mean, come on, that's an ultimate classic. And then he does follow that up with Before Sunrise. And then there's a little known indie film called Tape that nobody's seen with Ethan Hawke.
Of course,
Uma Thurman.
Ethan Hawke, who is a co-writer on all the Before movies.
Go seek this out. It's a very, very small movie. I don't want to say anything about it. Just go see it.
So, Jay, what's your
literally the whole movie is taking place in one motel room.
What's your favorite? You said Linklater, but
I said the Before trilogy. I can't just say no more. All right, if I want to say one of those, I would probably.
It depends.
It bounces between.
It depends where you are in your life right now.
It is. It does. It's actually bounced back to Before Sunrise.
So
for me,
if you want to know why it depends on where you are in your life, it's because in Before Sunrise they meet. It's about a young man meeting a young woman and having a fantastic conversation, kind of like a fantastic first date.
Yes, in Austria.
Before Sunset is about refinding love. So if you're someone who's been divorced and you kind of are dealing with like that coming back together type thing, it's so strange. So Before Sunset is about them getting back together. Before Midnight is about dealing with life's problems and dealing with marriage and taking the problems as they come and dealing with them. And for me right now, Before Midnight, since I'm a married guy, obviously I'm not young, I'm not chasing women no more. I'm not love scorned. I'm not, But
I think you're gonna respect that movie more. And within the next 5 years or so.
Yeah. It's a film that's about relationship, building it, losing it, rebuilding it.
In reality.
In reality, it's very real.
It's very real.
And the people, the way they talk, it's way smarter than it makes me feel dumb. But I understand that the way people normally talk doesn't necessarily translate over to film so well. So
I mean, not everybody enjoys, those kind of relationships or those kind of people who talk a lot in depth about anything and everything, and I really, really appreciate that and resonate to it.
So Before Sunset, that's your favorite now, right now?
No, Before Sunrise.
Before Sunrise.
Yes,
okay.
Before Sunrise.
So you're seeking somebody.
Yes. Well, I am single right now, so I guess so.
Seeking
but
someone for the end
School
of the
of Rock
world.
is a lot of fun, and then he does like A Scanner Darkly.
So weird.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I wish I
weird.
saw that movie that in live action. I think it would have been a cool film.
He's also nominated.
It was very ambitious.
He was also nominated for Boyhood. Like he was nominated for Boyhood.
Yes, that was his latest big award.
And then his follow-up is something that was very much like his follow-up to Boyhood was something that was very much like Dazed and Confused.
Yes.
Everybody Wants Some.
And I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't fantastic, but I actually really enjoyed it.
Exactly. It's nothing crazy special or memorable, but it's an enjoyable movie. And it was weird because when it first ended, I was like, really? And then, the more I marinated with it and just kind of sat there, I literally did. I just sat there for 5 minutes and just kind of digested the whole thing.
Well, it's not what he's been doing with his career other than Bernie. Since Dazed and Confused, he hasn't really done a comedy of that type of caliber.
No.
Since Dazed and Confused. So when you get something like Bernie that commercially wasn't successful, but critically and for me was a hilarious movie. When he does something with, Everybody Wants Some after coming off of something like Boyhood, it seems a little daunting. It seems a little jarring, and I love the fact that he's the type of guy that he varies. He wants to. I mean, he doesn't vary too much. He has two different types of films: his little bit of off the wall comedies and his very deep character studies. Not even character studies into people.
Yeah. But that's definitely my number 4. Dave?
Yeah, my number 4 is probably going to piss some people off right now because some people would probably put him as number 1. And for me, he's not number 1, but he's got such a fantastic body of work. I'm going with David Fincher. And my favorite film from David Fincher is Zodiac. So...
Beautiful work of art.
Absolutely.
Great film.
So Zodiac for me is...
Currently on Netflix.
Yeah, it is. Zodiac for me is... I am a true crime type of guy. I've read several books on Zodiac Killer. I got an encyclopedia of serial killers sitting on my bookshelf. But I went to school for criminal justice, psychology, forensic psychology. So this type of stuff like really hits me. That's why Zodiac is my favorite film. Also, I think visually he took a lot of risks with his visuals in that. There's a scene where someone gets stabbed and they show the knife just going in and out and in and out, and he holds on it.
Yeah.
It's grueling. And he also does the shot that I've talked about several times where it's an above San Francisco shot and you're following the cab and the cab makes a right-hand turn and the camera just turns with it and it pans with it. And he did that with miniatures and that's fucking awesome. That's just probably my favorite movie for him. But he's also done Seven, Fight Club, Gone
He's
Girl.
on my list, so
Oh my
I'm
God.
saving myself right now. But
So
no, he's done a lot of good movies.
Such a fantastic
and
director.
it's hard to pick just one. I think.
When people hear he's directing something, they get excited for it. You get excited when you hear that he's directing World War Z too, because you're like, God, I love the idea. For me, I love the idea.
Has he made a bad movie, Dave?
Not really.
No.
I really like the idea of World War Z. I loved the book. I really love the book because it's like this It's basically like a chronicle of sociology of how people deal with the zombie apocalypse. And then they did the World War Z movie, and it kind of dropped most of that, and it made it more about Brad Pitt's character. And I just didn't get into World War Z. And then I find out that David Fincher is going to be directing the sequel to it. Now you're going to talk about themes that
now we're talking about
themes that I enjoy in a visual style that I enjoy with a guy who has directed
and
Brad Pitt several times.
And they have to tone down the fucking budget.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't even want to direct a $200 million fucking piece like that.
I feel
he's
like
going to bring it down to a really good form.
Right. He's going to do those smaller stories that you read in the book that were extremely interesting.
And put the money where it's needed, like the authenticity of the zombies.
Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it.
So,
anyway, Jay, why don't you move on to your number 3 before I talk about things?
Quentin Tarantino.
All right.
He's on your list, I know.
He is. What's yours?
I got to go with Death Proof. I just gotta do it.
Wow.
It's my fucking favorite movie. Like, I've watched it so many times.
And it's his most hated.
It's his most hated. I will always stand behind it. I just thoroughly enjoy. This is personal, so like fuck it. I'm not gonna go with what I think is best. I'm not gonna say Pulp Fiction or something like that. Like I'm gonna go with.
It's so rewatchable. Kurt Russell is so.
I enjoy watching the hell of that movie.
He's such a great bad guy in it.
He's so good. So good.
And his overacting is fantastic. And the ladies are fantastic.
The cars.
Oh my God.
The fucking cars. My God.
That
the stunts.
That car chase.
The music.
We brought up in our top 5 vehicle chases ever.
Oh my goodness.
And that car chase is still, bar none, my favorite car chase.
It's
to
unbelievable.
Watch.
Unbelievable.
And the best part is it's basically the last third of the film is that car chase.
Exactly. And Zoe Bell is doing her own stunts. She's playing herself in the movie and she's doing it on the car.
Hey man, I'm with you.
It's so cool.
It's my second favorite Tarantino film.
It's one of those movies that I throw on late at night. If I'm like in between, like I just like throw on.
It's a grindhouse film.
Yeah.
Like it is that. Like you do watch those late at night.
I just get sucked into it, and I just love every fucking minute of it. I've seen it so many times. It's one of my go-to favorites.
All right, man. My number 3 might piss people off too because he's not number 1 or number 2. Steven Spielberg. Here's what keeps Spielberg in the middle of the pack on this
He's
one.
actually not on my list.
Here's what keeps Spielberg in the middle of the pack on my list. He hasn't had a good film.
It's been a while
since Minority Report.
I know.
No. When I say a good film, believe me, I'm not talking about Lincoln. I know Lincoln was nominated. I know Lincoln was great. I know, people love.
These are personal lists, people.
Right, exactly.
We're not talking about.
It's not my type of film.
Quality.
I enjoy historical films, but as far as it goes, like it's not what I come to expect from Spielberg. I understand that he does these films for himself and he loves doing these type of films. I mean, believe me, I absolutely love Schindler's List. Like I love that film. But at the same time, what I remember from Spielberg is so much like steeped in my childhood. Indiana Jones, Jurassic Park, those We just found out that he was the director of Poltergeist. Even though he's uncredited, he directed Poltergeist. And even like some of his producing credits, like that's the type of films that you have so much fun with that just stay with you for so long. Even Minority Report, things like that. He hasn't had one of those in a long time. But my favorite Steven Spielberg film is the first one. It's Jaws. I mean, it's not his first film. It's his first feature film. He did do several made-for-TV films and stuff like that. But Jaws, 1975. I mean, absolutely fucking perfect film that I can watch anytime, anywhere. I don't care. Jaws.
Especially now in the summertime. Middle
of the winter, I'll fucking watch it. I don't care. It's just such a quotable movie, such a lovely movie. I talked about earlier in the episode. Me and my brother were fishing together. The whole time we were going out down the river, we kept quoting Jaws. And the best was there was a few people who knew what we were doing. Other people just thought we were crazy. But like we kept doing died at the age of 103 for 15 years. She kept her virginity. There's a record for this facility. Like those are like the little things you don't remember, but everyone remembered when we started singing "Farewell and Adieu to You."
Did the crew know the song?
Ladies.
Oh, fuck them.
Farewell and adieu to you ladies of Spain. I absolutely love the characterizations. I love the small town feel. I love the inner turmoils, the inner conflicts. Jaws is just absolutely perfect. And I'm still that kid that grew up in the late 80s or early 90s who sits here and prays that Ready Player One will be everything that I want it to be. Will be that type of film again. Will be that type of fun film that Spielberg delivers to us that we love. I see it and I see the trailer and I go, it might be as good as a Minority Report. I might get that lucky.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I had my hopes for it. Believe me.
I just think
when I saw the trailer, I was underwhelmed.
I just think the days of his action adventure are done. Like that fun, timeless action adventure like Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park, and I think those are just gone.
I'm sure he has a lot of pressure to do a lot of directorial properties still, but I feel like if he could focus more on producing. Just retire from directing, not retire, but like semi-retire.
He's really good at ushering ideas.
But if he can like really put some more time and passion behind producing some certain properties, and really championing like certain actors and directors, and even just whatever, and writers, and just kind of push through and produce these really good films from other filmmakers, that'd be really cool. So, my number 2, Denis Villeneuve.
I knew it was coming, dude. You can't leave this motherfucker alone.
I can't. Oh, my God. This guy is fucking... there's something about this guy. I trust him.
He's too new for me.
Dude, he's done 4 movies that are phenomenal. Phenomenal. I'm not kidding. I love Prisoners.
Spielberg's done 20.
This little indie weird movie, Enemy. Nobody's seen. Go see it. It's weird as fuck. Go watch it.
Go see the shit. It's weird.
It's amazing. Sicario, Arrival, my number 2 last year.
My number 1 last year.
And Blade Runner. It looks great. So
we'll see.
But I'm optimistic. But
putting your foot in your mouth, saying it's gonna be fucking great, and you haven't even seen dick.
I said it looks great. I trust this guy. I think he's going to be one of the best directors of all time. I really, really do.
I think give him time. He might be.
I think he could be.
But 4 films is not enough for me to put him on my list.
I kind of had to put him on. I had to put him on.
Sicario, I loved. Felt like Arrival, I loved.
To do it.
I've never seen Enemy, and Blade Runner is a wait and see.
I really loved all these films. However, I got to go with my first one I saw of his, Prisoners. That's the one I'm
Prisoners is pretty good. It was pretty good. I found it a little dull at times. I found it a little lacking. I thought that he brought the best acting job out of Hugh Jackman anyone's ever brought out, though. I thought that's for sure. I mean, other than in Logan, I think like those are the two that like
sure, especially recently. Oh my God, yeah.
I think those are the two performances that Hugh Jackman's ever done that are absolutely that fantastic. All right, my number 2, Jay. It's tough, man. It's like a toss-up here.
This is a hard list, dude. I mean, this is...
All right, I'm biting a bullet because between number 1 and number 2 are so tough, but I'm going with Stanley Kubrick for my number 2. And my favorite Stanley Kubrick film is The Shining. And I mean that goes down to my love of Stephen King. That goes down to my love of the film itself and my conspiracy theories about the film. Everyone knows that I love the documentary 237, Room 237. That is about all the conspiracy theories that are involved in it. Kubrick's probably the most interesting director we've had in the past 50 years. But his other films, Eyes Wide Shut, God, he just has so many. I love
Eyes Wide Shut, yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
He just does so many fantastic films, and a lot of his fantastic films are older. I think Eyes Wide Shut was like one of his more.
That was his last film.
His last film. Well, I mean, other than AI, which he got through storyboarding on and was ushering it to the screen. I think he directed a couple scenes, and then Steven Spielberg took over for him on it. But Stanley Kubrick, just visually, I mean, 2001: A Space Odyssey is just a visual fucking porn that fucks you right in the fucking eyeballs with how gorgeous it is, and it's so deep, and it's so it's just so. It asks a lot of questions about humans and about AI and about the creation in itself and what makes us intelligent beings. I found that so interesting. And The Shining just delves into madness just so well. I mean, The Shining is one of those things where he plays with the idea of Danny and his shining ability and stuff like that, and that's the supernatural aspect of the film. But when you get down to what the core of it is, when you get down to Jack Nicholson's character, what is is something supernatural happening to him, or is that all just madness? And madness, as you know, Jay, it's like gravity. All it needs is a little push. I absolutely loved that. So Stanley Kubrick for The Shining for me.
It's a great choice. Great choice.
Jay, why don't you quickly run through your honorable mentions, whichever ones you have.
My honorable mentions are Robert Zemeckis, Martin Scorsese. I'll just say the names of the films too, right? Okay, so Zemeckis, I'm going to go with Back to the Future. Scorsese, I'm going to go with Gangs of New York. Christopher Nolan, Memento. Tim Burton, the original Batman. Wes Anderson, Royal Tenenbaums. Paul Thomas Anderson, Boogie Nights.
Fantastic film.
Yes.
But all right, so that's it for you?
That's it.
All right, my honorable mentions: John Carpenter, The Thing. James Cameron, Terminator 2, Judgment Day. Ridley Scott, Alien. Alfred Hitchcock, North by Northwest. And Christopher Nolan, drumroll, Interstellar is my favorite Nolan film. Ow! I know people do not like Interstellar.
No, I thoroughly respect it.
But for me, who's a sci-fi guy, that's a hard sci-fi film.
That's a hard sci-fi movie.
I think what people don't like about it is the ending. I think the ending gets a little weird and wonky and doesn't explain itself too well. But everything else in the film leading up to that last 10, 15 minutes.
The fact that they reeled in the sci-fi because it was going to be too out there for people to believe is awesome.
I absolutely love that.
Absolutely awesome.
I mean, I like Inception as well, and obviously I love The Dark Knight. It's just
he has a lot of good movies.
When I start thinking about visuals in films and rewatchability, obviously for The Dark Knight, that's his most like rewatchable film. I can watch that the whole Dark Knight trilogy. I can rewatch as many times as I want. But as far as his other films go, Interstellar is that one that like I find myself going back to just to find those little things that are missed, just to find those little things in performances.
And they're in there.
And I know people like to make fun of that Matthew McConaughey crying scene where he's I absolutely that scene kills me.
That scene kills me.
Time.
There's nothing to make fun of.
I know, but there's a meme that goes.
I know, but it's a funny meme. I give him that. However. In the movie, that killed me. I was crying. I was crying in the movie theater by myself.
I'm a guy with a daughter, and if I missed 90% of her life, that would slay me, like internally.
Yeah,
I absolutely love that film. So Christopher Nolan gets on my honorable mention list, and Interstellar is my favorite film by him. I love the rest of his films, but that one for sure is one I really love to go back to more so than I think it's just because I'm fatigued on The Dark Knight by this point. Like I've seen The Dark Knights like several times a year since 2008. But
Yeah.
Interstellar, I get to go back to every now and then and really
Get your geek on.
yeah, really get my inner sci-fi love on. So
Yeah.
Jay, what's your number one?
Number
motherfucker?
one, I alluded to it earlier, David Fincher. So, I mean, obviously you got Seven, Fight Club.
The Game.
The Game, Zodiac, like you said, you love. And The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, I really enjoyed. I enjoyed
That's
that
the one
movie.
I don't like.
I enjoyed it. The Social Network.
Forrest Gump in reverse. That's what
The girl with the dragon tattoo, I absolutely loved. I think more than anything, I probably between Seven and Fight Club, I've probably seen the girl with the dragon tattoo the most.
Really? For me,
which is odd. I don't know why.
For me, Seven, I've probably seen the most. Fight Club, a close second, because that came out at a time where I was in teenage angst, and that just spoke to me in that type of way. And I was an indie emo type kid. So that film like really got to me because fuck it, and nothing is everything.
And Gone Girl, I liked a lot. I mean, I thought it was classic Fincher, and
my favorite line from Fight Club: "It's only after we lose everything that we're free to do anything."
That's a good one.
So yeah, for me, Fight Club.
And I really adore the series House of Cards, and he was a big champion and producer for that series.
So
and
what's
it's
your
still
number
going
one
strong.
Fincher film?
I feel like
I know this is the hard part where you have to take a body of work that you love so much and then put a pin in the best one.
I'm not exactly sure why I'm going to go with this one, but I'm going to go with it. The girl with the dragon tattoo.
I don't know. Something draws you to it. I mean,
and I think something draws me to it. It's really well crafted.
We all know that Jay is a rape apologist, as he said on the show before.
It's hard to do a movie like this, especially a remake from a Swedish trilogy that
was a book series
adapted from a book series that was really beloved, and for him to try and make it his own and do it justice, he succeeded for sure. And it's a fucking Hollywood sin again that they did not push through for
sequels.
The rest of the sequels to come out. I don't understand why. Why they needed to put so much money into this one movie. This is $100 million movie. Why?
No, it
didn't need to be that.
It's a much smaller, more personal story.
Exactly. It did not need to have that kind of budget, and they marketed the shit out of it, and it barely skated by with pretty much breaking even. And the studio, Sony Studio, just decided to.
That's
not
Sony for you. They
mismanage
everything.
They mismanage everything. And it's a shame because all the characters, all the actors, Daniel Craig, Rooney Mara, and Fincher himself wanted to return, and didn't happen. So I'm going to go with that one.
All right.
And as we talked about before, he's going to return with World War Z 2.
Yeah, and I can't wait for that.
That should be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
Is this the first time he's done a sequel, number one?
And he's going to, people are going to say, oh, yeah, fatigue with the whole zombie thing. Why we have another zombie movie? But
I don't. As long as
it's fucking Fincher, he's gonna bring it back in style.
As long as something is delivered to me in an interesting way, like I thought I was fatigued on zombies, and then I saw Train to Busan in 2016.
Exactly. And guess what? I've been actually hearing more and more about that movie recently. It's amazing. That's just exploding. I think is that on Netflix?
It's on Netflix.
That's why. Okay. So all of a sudden, people are now like actually having it on their top 10 lists almost.
Awesome
for
fucking
zombie
movie.
movies.
It was on my
like
top
that.
10 list for 2016.
Yeah.
And I got to thank the people at #MoviePodSquad because I'm part of that group. And I talked to them when I asked for films in 2016. I threw up a list of films that I hadn't seen yet that were on my list of watch. I asked everybody, is there anything from this list that I'm missing? Anything I need to see? And several of the people on there just said, you got to see Train to Busan. And me and Lauren seeked it out. We saw it. Fuck, it was amazing. It's really good. So you can get fatigued on a type of genre. You can get fatigued on a subject matter. But when it's delivered to you in a new and interesting way, you can fall right back and board on it because that's what story is, man. I stayed away from Game of Thrones for a long time because I'm not a fantasy type guy. And
so did I.
Obviously, when I say a long time, I stayed away from the first 5 episodes because I'm not a fantasy guy. And someone's like, no, just fucking watch it. Just get that out of your mind. And I watched it, and it's so good.
I binge watched the first season leading up to the second season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all right, man. So we come to my number one, and this was definitely a whole lot harder for me than I really thought it was going to be. I mean, we already know what it is because Jay, you already mentioned that this was clearly going to be on my list, and I haven't talked about Quentin Tarantino yet. So Quentin Tarantino is my number one. But the hard part for me is that coming up with my favorite film, because recently I watched Django a couple times, and God, I'm really impressed with that fucking film. But however, I'm just not sure if it holds up as well as some of the other ones. Pulp Fiction's definitely up there. Reservoir Dogs is such a great film, but I think and obviously, Jay, you picked Death Proof, but for me, I think right now my favorite Tarantino film is I just really enjoy Kill Bill. And I'm not going to say Kill Bill 1 or Kill Bill 2 because they are the same movie. So my favorite film from him is Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. I love Tarantino's style. I especially love the style of that film. I love that, color plays such a big part in the fight scenes and everything like that, like the white backdrop when she's fighting Oreni Shi, and the whole desert, the sepia look in the whole desert fight scene with Bud, to everything up until like the very end when she comes with the bill, and just no one does dialogue like Quentin Tarantino does. It's just no one comes close to it in that matter. We talked about Linklater and how Linklater does such a great job with dialogue, but you get so fascinated when you watch a Tarantino film, and it's all because of what is being said. At times what's being done is pretty fucking cool too, especially in Kill Bill. It's so different than the rest of the films he's done. It's so much more fantastical. It's so much more. It's almost like he just let himself off the leash and just had a fun ride with a bunch of different genres that he really enjoyed when he was growing up. So it's such a fun watch for me. I love going back. I hope one day that they actually go back to the Kill Bill universe at some point. I mean, they do leave it like a little bit open. There's that point where, she kills Black Mamba. Well, no, sorry, she's Black Mamba, where she kills Vivica A. Fox, and Vivica A. Fox's daughter looked at her and she said, when you grow up, if you're still sore about it, you can come find me. And I love that. I hope that they do something like that, where, they do come back to this world at some point, because it's such a cool world. And it's absolutely my favorite Tarantino film. And, at least right now, I think with all these directors, with all these films that we talk about, they're kind of like interchangeable, like you kind of go through moods when you watch movies, and depending on your mood currently, some of these directors might move up and down on my list. Some in the honorable mentions might make my top 5, or one of them drops down. And then you might also, find yourself enjoying different movies by them at different times. I think that's just one of the things about film. It's so subjective, and I just love talking about these directors that bring it, in the way that leaves such a lasting effect on us. So that's going to do it for me and Jay's list of our top 5 directors and our favorite film from them. If you disagree with our list, please reach out to us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod on there. If you want to reach out to us by email, you can. We're Super Movie Brothers Podcast at supermoviebrospodcast@gmail.com. Also, we're part of a network, part of the Podfix Network. You can check out us and every other show that's part of the Podfix Network on www.podfixnetwork.com. There you can find a link to the Countdown Pod, and you can check out their episode 21 where they count down their top 10 directors of all time. Me and Jay just finished up our July giveaway, our Loot Crate giveaway, and we announced a winner on Twitter. So the winner of our July Loot Crate was at ddumbochalover. That is at DDUBMOCHA Lover on Twitter. I won't give away their real name or their email, obviously, but I did announce them on Twitter as our winner. We will be running another one for August, and this time it's not going to be a Loot Crate. This is going to be 2 Star Wars pop vinyl figures. They are C-3PO from episode 1. He's all naked without his normal gold overlay. And then also R5-D4 from the Star Wars Pop Vinyl line. They are numbers 181 and 180 from the Pop Vinyl line. I will be giving those away. The only thing that you're going to have to do, same thing again, leave us an iTunes review. So if you're a Pop Vinyl fan, make sure to leave us an iTunes review, screenshot it, and email it to us at supermoviebrospodcast@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.